That's 6:45.
I will call to order the Monday, May 11th meeting of the Common Council. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have the roll call. Ms. Schofield, if you would, please.
Alderperson Diaz.
Here.
Alderperson Doyle.
Here.
Alderperson Linder.
Here.
Alderperson Reiki. Here. Alderperson Steiner.
Here.
Alderperson Touche.
Present.
And Alderperson Yurs.
Here.
Alderperson McGilvery is absent and excused this evening.
Thank you. We have a quorum, so we will proceed with the agenda. Next on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak this evening? Anyone from the public? I'm not seeing anyone from the public desiring to speak this evening. So we'll go on to approval of the minutes. Included with your packet were minutes from the April 27th meeting of the Common Council. What's your pleasure?
Move approval.
We have a motion by Mr. Yurs. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Reiki. Were there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the previous meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried and the minutes are approved. Under Mayor's business this evening, one of the items we're going to have is an update from Chief Giver. And Chief, if you would, please.
Good evening, everyone. A few things to update you on what's going on in the fire department. First off, the station update. The station's moving right along. The masons are getting the brickwork done in a very quick pace. Windows are being installed, painting, tile, cabinets, and mechanicals are all being worked on. Last Friday, the apparatus bays were poured, the concrete. That was probably the biggest milestone that we were looking for. So that's moving along nicely. And today they started installing carpet on the second floor. The next big event will be the delivery of the apparatus bay doors, which are scheduled to ship May 15th. Furniture is scheduled to be delivered June 15th. And it looks like we'll be able to move into the office and living spaces sometime in mid-June. And then a few weeks later, hopefully around July 1st, we'll be able to move the trucks over. We'll only have access to the front of the station off Verona Avenue for the first period. We'll have to back in from Verona Avenue until we're able to tear down the old station and complete the filling and parking lot areas in the rear of the station. Then we'll have full access to the facility. I'm guessing we're probably looking at a September time frame for all that work to be done and have the landscaping done and everything. So that's where the station is currently. If you have any questions about the progress of the station construction.
Any questions on the building project? I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Doyle.
The only question I have is just where we are at with the budget right now.
That would be a Mr. Burns question.
Mr. Burns.
Yeah, the total project budget for the fire station, actually what was identified in our budget was 10.7 million. We have 10.6 million, which was our estimate post-bid, and we're still hoping that we come in at that $10.6 million number. We just had a project meeting today. We've had some items that have come up in our contingency, which we'll be providing an update on. A couple of the biggest things is we've run into bad soils and a couple times on the site where we've had to bring outside soil in. We're expecting to hit more of that when we do the parking lot areas, so we're trying to make sure that we have enough allocated in the contingency for potential bad soil conditions there. We are also trying to figure out the best way to handle the ceiling of an apparatus bay where there was a finished metal panel that was excluded from one of the bids, and that was not caught in the bid review process. So we're looking at what the options are there and trying to find other dollars within the project that we can use to cover that cost. So bottom line, we're hopeful that we remain at the $10.6 million number for the total project budget, and if we remain at that number, we've borrowed $7.5 million to date. We'd be borrowing a balance of $3.1 million to finish out the project.
Thank you, Bill. Other questions on the building project? Not seeing any. Go ahead, Joe.
And next, I'll update you on the deputy chief hiring. We received 44 applications for the deputy chief position. The PFC interviewed 13 of those applicants, And I'm working on setting up my interviews for the deputy chief candidates early next week, and hope to be able to make an offer around mid-June is what I'm hoping we can get done. And then intern update, our internship program, we received 10 applications, and we're in the process of interviewing and making offers to our intern applicants. We should have both of our interns on board and ready to go once the new station's ready to be occupied. So if you have any questions on either of those items, I'll answer what I can.
Any questions on any of the staffing items? Go ahead, Ms. Doyle.
Just for the deputy position, with giving an offer mid-June, are you confident that they'll be in by July as well, or?
Pretty close to July 1st, I would think. They might, depends on their position currently, they might have to give a 30-day notice if they're a chief officer, so that'd be the only hang-up.
Go ahead, Mr. Diaz.
Thank you. Just to be clear here, we're still on pace then to get 24-hour fire coverage by January 1 of 2017,
July 1
July 1
of this year,
of this year.
with the 24-hour lieutenant.
Lieutenant, but I'm talking full coverage with like a crew there.
Yeah, we're still on track for 2017, like we
Okay,
were
thank you.
discussed.
Any other questions? Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, just to provide a little bit of background for anyone watching at home. For those that aren't aware, currently we are not staffing the fire department in the evening. We're relying on people that are responding from home on a paid-on-call situation for staffing in the evening. With the new station opening, as the chief mentioned, we'd be having a lieutenant position staffed in the evenings. We also, through a combination of paid-on-premises coverage and interns, would have a second person in the station in the evenings. Our goal, as we talked about during the budget process, was that by January 1 of 2017, we'd be in position to have a full crew of 4 staffed 24 hours a day. So that would require some additional funding in the 2016 budget, and then the final piece in the 2017 budget.
It's a good question, and Luke, I'm glad you brought it up because the public should also be aware that it's a real commitment by the fire department and by the city council and city staff to make that happen. Bill and I were at a meeting last week, and they were talking again about, firefighters and not being able to find volunteers, and it's a costly proposal. It's expensive to go 24/7 with full-time staff, but it's something that we really need to do. So we have built that into our plans, and we'll have to continue to work in our budget plans to make that happen. But I know it's a priority for all of us on the city council to make that happen. So, anything else, Joe?
Nope, that's it.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.
Great, thanks. I have no citizen committee appointments for this evening. The only other thing I was going to mention is last week, some of us, Heather, Bill, Adam, Cindy Engelke, and myself attended the groundbreaking for the United Vaccines. There were a lot of people there, a lot of the employees from United Vaccines. They're really excited to, seeing a building being built there and moving here. A lot of them that I talked to, a lot of younger employees, and most of them that I talked to and asked what they thought about moving to a different location, they said it didn't mean much to them. They were definitely willing to drive out there. So it was a really nice gathering, and I don't know if Bill or Heather have anything to add, but if not, it was a good ceremony. Heather?
Yeah, it was a very nice gathering, despite the little bit of rain
Yeah.
that was going on. They had a huge tent set up, and they were well prepared for that, and it's just exciting.
Yeah, it was very good. All right, with that concludes my business for this evening, so we'll move to the administrator's report. Mr. Burns, please.
Yes, thank you. A few updates this evening. First, I wanted to report that at their board meeting last week, the library board acted to appoint Stacy Burkhart as the library director. Stacy had been serving as the interim director and previously as the assistant library director and youth services director. So congratulations to Stacy on her appointment. Last week, the city police department hosted a functional exercise for the city's emergency operations center. That was a scenario going through a mock incident at one of the school districts. We had participation from all of the emergency services, several other city departments, Verona School District, and just like to thank the police department for hosting that event and for all the staff that were involved. I think it was a good exercise, and will definitely be helpful as we continue to work on our emergency operation plans and preparations for a full-scale active shooter exercise that's planned for July 28th this summer. And then a couple updates on items that are coming up in the next few days. This Saturday, 2 events that will be taking place at the police department. There will be a prescription drug medication drop-off this Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m. at the Verona Police Department, where people can bring old and unneeded medications and drop them off for proper disposal. And then there will also be a youth bike safety event taking place this Saturday at the police department between noon and 2 p.m. And then next Monday, which is the third Monday in May, we have 2 items scheduled. First will be an open house on the downtown streetscape plans. That'll be held here in the council chambers at City Hall from 6 to 7 p.m. We're not planning on a formal presentation, but the architect that's been working on the streetscaping plans will be present, have maps, images, and he and city staff will be available to answer questions from the public and take feedback from the public and the community on the draft plans. And then that evening at 7 p.m., we're planning to have another Community Development Authority, and the staff from Redevelopment Resources will be presenting some of their findings on the market gap analysis and their contacts with businesses. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Bill? If not, it made me think of 2 things. When you mentioned the training this week, I had the opportunity, I was working with some Dane County folks, emergency management folks on a training issue, and they specifically mentioned Bernie and also Dave Dresser and others in the fire department, but in the police department, excuse me, about how good you are to work with and how they appreciate it and you're so professional. And it's a really good thing to hear. And then, not to just make Bernie feel good tonight, when we were at the groundbreaking for United Vaccines, we heard loud and clear in the speeches and in personal one-on-one conversations. Heather, I'm sure you heard the same thing about how great it was to work with city staff. And I just said that's something that we're very proud of. We know we have good staff. We want to be easy to work with. We have a process. We don't make exceptions. And that's how we get things done. So just almost everybody that I talked there who had impact on having that decision made to come to Verona talked about how great the staff was. So not all the, that's Joe, not you, okay. I just wanted to mention that because I know we've got really, really good staff. So seeing no questions, we'll move on to another good person that we consider staff even though we contract, and that's Mr. Gunlock.
Thank you. 4 items this evening. The first is the East Verona Avenue, Lincoln Street reconstruction. If you've noticed, the contractor has completed the median curb and gutter and colored concrete for access to the fire station driveway. Curb and gutter and sidewalk on the southwest and southeast corners of the intersection have also been completed. Conduits for the traffic signals was being installed today. Contractor is currently waiting for MG&E to relocate the gas main on the north side of East Verona Avenue before proceeding with the remaining curb, gutter, and sidewalk and concrete pavement there. Gas main is scheduled for relocation this week. Contractor will be moving to the storm sewer and curb and gutter work on South Main Street while he waits for the gas main relocation. And work on Lincoln Street is scheduled to start June 8th. Liberty Drive Phase 2, contractor has completed the curb, gutter, and sidewalk installations and has the street base course material rough graded. Finished grading will be completed Wednesday with asphalt paving scheduled for this Thursday. Following that, the street terrace restoration will be done and work should all be completed by June 1st. 2015 street rehabilitation project. Contractor has gone around and completed his pavement saw cutting. No additional work is scheduled until May 18th. And finally, Epic Campus 5. Contractor is in the process of installing public utilities for Campus 5. They have encountered a large volume of rock and have decided that the utility trenches need to be blasted in order to remove that rock economically. Utility construction will continue for several more weeks. That completes the report for this evening. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Are there any questions this evening for Mr. Gunlock? Not seeing any. Thank you, Bob.
Welcome.
We will move then to committee reports. We'll begin with the Finance Committee. Ms. Doyle, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agenda item 9A1, discussion and possible action regarding the payment of the bills. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $554,000, $21.35.
We have a motion by Ms. Doyle. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Linder. Ms. Doyle?
Thank you. The largest of our expenditures for this meeting is a CDA lease revenue bond associated with TIF number 7 in the amount of $127,000, $885.63.
Okay. Are there any questions for the Finance Committee or for staff? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve the payment of bills in amount totaling $554,021.35. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Is there anything else from Finance?
No further business. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll move to Public Safety and Welfare Committee. Mr. Yurs, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve a special event permit for Hometown Rumble Car Show on Saturday, June 13th from Jim Bach of Bach Racecraft with the contingent that the liability insurance is shown by June 5th.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Yurs and a second by Mr. Touche. Mr. Yurs?
Thank you. Bach Racecraft, located at 404 Legion Street, along with neighboring businesses, will be hosting a car show from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, June 13th. The car show will close a portion of Legion Street and Commerce Parkway for the event. The Public Safety and Welfare Committee reviewed the application earlier this evening and, along with that contingency, voted unanimously to approve it.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the special event permit for the Hometown Rebel Car Show signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. Yurs?
Our next item on the agenda has been postponed. The date is changing and we're working on some new paperwork, so we will bring the triathlon again at a later date.
Okay, thank you. Then item 3.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a temporary Class B beer license for Hometown Days, June 4 through June 7, from the Fitchburg Verona Rotary Club.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Yurs, seconded by Mr. Touche. Mr. Yurs?
I do need to add the contingency that the background checks have been reviewed and approved.
Okay, thank you. And the second agrees. Further questions or comments or anything to add, Dale?
Yes, back when we have originally approved the Hometown Days event, June 4 was not going to be an open beer tent night. The Chamber and Rotary Club have decided to change that now. They did not get a strong reaction to the Battle of the Bands. So instead, they're going to essentially have a raffle, a free raffle. Everybody who's 21 and older in the beer tent that evening on the Thursday evening will receive a card that they can put their name on, and they have to be present to win. But as the evening progresses, the prizes will progressively get larger. Minors will be allowed with their parents up to the age of, Chief Coughlin, 13? 13 or younger will be allowed into the beer tent with their parents, and the evening on the Thursday evening will be 10 p.m. will be the closing.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve the temporary Class B beer license for Hometown Days, June 4th through 7th from the Fitchburg Verona Rotary Club. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. Yurs?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 15-860, amending section 10-1-12 of the Code of Ordinances, speed limits.
We have a motion by Mr. Yurs. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Touche. Mr. Yurs, please.
Thank you. The proposed ordinance would reduce the speed limit on a section of South Main Street / County Highway M from 45 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour, beginning at the intersection with Prairie Heights Drive to 500 feet north of the intersection with Locust Drive. The point 500 feet north of Locust Drive is where the speed limit decreases to 25 miles per hour. South of Prairie Heights Drive, the speed limit on South Main Street, County Highway M would remain at 45 miles per hour. The reduction in speed limit on County Highway M is being recommended in order to safely accommodate a crosswalk at Whalen Road. The Public Safety and Welfare Committee discussed the ordinance earlier this evening and unanimously voted to recommend its approval.
Thank you. Questions or comments, Mr. Diaz?
Thank you. I just wanted to add a comment that I've heard a lot of concerns from people in the Scenic Ridge neighborhood about traffic and traffic safety on that road, and I think it's a really good idea to lower the speed limit.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. I've heard some of the same, and also a lot of bicycle traffic there. Anybody who drives that area a lot, there's a lot of bikes there. Other questions, comments, Ms. Reiki?
I just wanted to comment that there was some discussion about potentially in the future extending the 35 mile per hour further south to Range Trail. And we would need to talk to the county about that and get them to buy into that. But that is a future goal, I'm thinking.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, you've heard the motion. This is for approval of ordinance number 15-860. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Mr. Yurs, anything else from Public Safety and Welfare Committee?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Then we have under new business, discussion and possible action regarding approval of operator licenses. Ms. Schofield, please.
Tonight we have operator licenses from Jesse Haver at Hop House and Aaron Vogel, Tracy Hellenbrand, Sarah Monshine, and Colleen Britt Young at the Wisconsin Brewing Company.
You've heard the applicants' names.
Move approval.
We have a motion by Mr. Yurs. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Touche. Questions or comments? Questions? Not seeing any. All those in favor of approval of operator licenses signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. We are under announcements this evening. Mr. Steiner, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The Verona Historical Society will meet May 20th at the Senior Center, but we're going on a field trip. We're going to go see the Dick Durfer Farms, so everyone should meet at 1 p.m. at the Senior Center, and we'll carpool and take the tour at the farms, lasting probably about 2 hours. So bring comfortable shoes and dress for the weather. It should be a very good time. They're looking forward to hosting us on May 20th, 1 p.m. at the Senior Center for a 2-hour fun time. This is for the citizens who reside at 113 Pioli Street at the Senior Citizen Complex. I have expressed your concerns to the city administrator, and he is going to do some research on that topic that you are worried about and I'm worried about, and I'll get back to you shortly as soon as I hear back from him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steiner. Other announcements this evening? I'm not seeing any, so a motion to adjourn would be in order. We have a motion by Mr. Yurs. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Reiki. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you.